Welcome back to episode 20 of Where Baggies Walk. This week we're asking the question, what's the likelihood that Carlos Corberán may be off to the Premier League as he just managed his last game for the Baggies? Is he off to Southampton or dare he go to that lot? We're also talking about that Watford game and why does the Championship feel so flat this season? What's going on with football? We've got Dan, Aaron and Ben with us to review all of that on Where Baggies Walk. Welcome. Yes, welcome back. I'm regretting, probably going to regret asking this, but we'll go straight into it, shall we? The odds for the Southampton job, I've got Danny Roll top and then Carlos Corberán. And then if we look at the odds, dare I say, to be the next Wolves manager, there's old Carlos there on this list. I'll tread carefully here. Dan, what are the percentage chances of Carlos Corberán becoming the next Wolverhampton Wanderers manager?
Well, he's got to think of it logically. The way the Wolves are playing at the minute, they haven't been great. Players kicking off all over the place. And would you really want to go to a team where it don't look like the players are getting on and they could really be coming down to the Championship? Does he really want that on his head? So, to be honest, I think it'd be quite silly of him to do it because I think they're in dire. They are dire at the minute, and they are really going to struggle. And I can't see Carlos turning it around. So hopefully he'll do the right thing and maybe stay with us.
I mean, credit to him for getting mentioned in all these conversations. But Aaron, I mean, it just couldn't happen, could it?
Well, I mean, you'd like to think not, but this is football for you. I mean, you've seen worse happen, and you've seen crazy things happen. You'd like to think he has the loyalty about him, and considering he's actually managed in a Black Country derby, and he's sort of seen how it goes and what it actually means to the fans, you think he'd have sort of, capacity within himself to think, oh no, I can't do that. That's far beyond wrong.
Ben, what's the likelihood, do you think, of him getting approached by Southampton this week or Wolves?
I think Southampton probably makes more sense. I think there's no pressure on them to stay up, really. So he'd have sort of 6 months to embed whatever he wants to do there, then have a sort of a good run in the Championship next season. So I think that probably makes more sense. But if I'm a Premier League team, do you really want a manager who's won 2 games in 16 in the Championship? Do you really want a manager who's 8th in the Championship? I don't think. I think the expectation and the record we've got at the minute, it's not great. I don't think it's as appealing as what it was 12 months ago. He's still getting mentioned, but his record lately, I don't think it's massively appealing to either of those clubs at the moment.
Cheers for that, all three of you. Sorry to raise it. But Dan, genuinely, at the start of the season, if I'd have asked you this question, you'd be like, no, we want to keep him. But do you think fans would be upset, but it wouldn't be the end of the world, given how some fans are feeling about him right now?
Yeah, there is a lot more fans now turning to the Carlos out brigade. I can understand it, to be honest. 2 wins in 15 or something. And we finally lost this unbeaten streak. I mean, you can see it happening a mile off against Watford. They didn't really look as good as what they did against Sheffield United. Like that fight sort of went. And yeah, to be fair, for me, it is hard to sort of stay Carlos in, but if his time's up, his time's up.
Aaron, people are saying that it was on Corberan that Watford was up, that he was controlling the game with a back 5, and it should have been a like-for-like change at half-time with Rabota on for Styles and just kept that same shape. Do you agree that when you went to that back 4 that Watford then took over?
Well, I mean, I was a bit confused with the actual lineup when I first saw it come out. I mean, I couldn't predict if it was a 5 at the back, 4 at the back, or it's just some sort of variation of the 2. I think Corberan likes a 5 at the back. I think that was his trademark at Huddersfield when he actually done so well and got him in the playoffs. I think he would like to have a 5 at the back or a 3 at the back formation implemented into us, and I think he's tried it a few times. I mean, sometimes it's worked quite well, and obviously against Watford, if that was what we were going for, you can't say it has worked well because obviously we've come away with a loss. But I feel like we have the players now where you sort of can implement it a bit more, and I think with a bit more game time and a bit more time, of it being used in training, it's something we can actually look forward to because I feel like Furlong plays better as a wing back. He can get up and down the pitch, and I think a wing back would suit him. And the same goes to Styles. I feel like he's a better wing back than full back. I feel like he's attacked much more as a full back. Due to his size and his actual defensive ability. I don't think it's all there, in my opinion. But there's a lot of qualities to go with the back 5. Is it working at the moment? No, I don't think it's been used as much as it could have or should have really, and that's why it isn't going to work as much. But there's always potential there, in my opinion.
Okay, Ben, here's a couple more. Ed says losing after 13 is nothing to cry about against a strong team at home. Dust ourselves off, and we go again. It's only our 3rd defeat of the season, which we must remember. Hey Ben, it is only 3rd time, and I just threw this one in here as well. Holgate was god awful, as I did warn you about. Let's deal with the losses first. Ben, people just have to put this in perspective. I've seen all kinds of stuff on Twitter following that Watford one about Carlos, but come on, 3 defeats all season so far isn't bad, is it?
Yeah, when you look at it like that, you can't have any complaints really. But obviously, we've had those mass amount of draws in between those. I think it was right to go for a 5 at the back. Obviously, the strike we've got 2. He's a decent player. That lad out wide, that Georgian player, I can't remember what his name is, but he had a really good game. We couldn't really contain him. He had a really good game. But I think the performances still quite haven't been there. We didn't really lay a glove on Watford on Sunday. I know we tried to get back into the game, but we didn't really have that intent, which we were missing. Even the win against Coventry midweek, we got the win, but we weren't great. I don't think we just, we got the win, which is great, but the performance wasn't brilliant. And the Sheffield United game before that was a good performance, but I think that's like the bare minimum you expect really at home. I think we're still waiting for some really, really positive performances, and hopefully we get them in the next few games and over Christmas.
Okay, Holgate, Dan.
To be fair, his first few games, he didn't look too bad. But I think it was just a bad day at the office for him on Sunday. He just seemed to look lost. He couldn't really, he didn't really do much. But other than that, he's been all right. Can't really complain about him.
Okay, I'm just testing you. Aaron, the second goal. Let's talk about it for Watford. Should it have stood?
No. It's the more I watch it back, the more it infuriates me because it's a clear foul. Like if that was anywhere else on the pitch, it's given as a foul 1 million times. I just don't understand why the referee was so incompetent on Sunday. I think not even just that goal. There was a lot of actually incidents where the referee hasn't given a foul. I mean, obviously I'm speaking from a biased perspective, but there's a lot you could have mentioned from that game, which turned the game in their favour in a sense. I mean, obviously we weren't that our greatest, so you can't put all the blame on the referees. But it's hard enough when you're playing like that. But when you're playing against 12 men, it's even harder. I mean, the last kick of the game it should have been our free kick. I think maybe 20 yards out. It would have been a decent shooting range, and he blows for full time. I mean, the goal they scored, I mean, that was a clear foul. And I think just in the last few seconds of the second half as well, I think Tom Fellows was ragged down by his collar and nothing was given. I think they were allowed to play on with their ball as well. So, yeah, I mean, it's typical EFL referees. I mean, I don't think they're the greatest. I don't think any referees in this country are great, if I'm quite honest. But, we weren't great ourselves, so I can't put all the blame on them. But it doesn't help at all.
Yeah, it's starting to even itself out, isn't it? All these chances that you have got away with that we spoke about earlier in the season. All right, thank you very much for that, folks. We'll leave Watford alone for a second. Bristol City then up next, Ben. Here's another team, a bit like yourselves, that are unpredictable. Never put a bet on. No one put a bet on this game on Sunday. Who knows which way it's going to go. What do you make of them? And is this a chance for you to make a statement win?
Hopefully, yeah. I think I don't want to say it's must win, but we need a performance and a result definitely. Last season, teams like Bristol City, we were beating quite comfortably. It's not the same story this season. We definitely need the 3 points. I'm not sure if Naki Wells is still there, but he's a player that always seems to score against us whenever we play them. So we look for. So they're going to get at least one then. But I think, like I said, I don't want to say it's must to win, but I think if we don't win this game, I think there's going to be even more pressure on Carlos definitely.
The gap to the playoffs is now 2 points, fellas, but the gap to the top is 13 because of all these draws, and you were in that conversation not so long ago. So are we happy then that the best West Brom can hope for now is a playoff position, Dan?
Well, with current form, yeah, you can't really complain about where we are with the performances we've been putting in. I mean, obviously, it would be nice to be comfortable in them top 6 places or even further up the league, but it's going to be a lot of hard work, and to be honest, I can't see us getting automatics. And if it goes under current form, I can barely see us staying in the top 6.
All right, wins needed then. Fingers crossed for this weekend. Before we let you go this week, we're talking just generally about football. Feeling a little bit flat. The Championship hasn't lit up this season. Some people are saying there's too many draws, which you're responsible for, by the way, as a single-handed club. There hasn't been too many goal fests. The standard of football might not be as good. I mean, okay, Aaron, where do you stand on this? You've been in the Championship for a number of years now. You've seen enough. How does this season compare to others? Do you understand what people are saying here, or is it flannel?
No, I can completely agree. I mean, I think each year, I think it gets worse. I mean, it's just the way football's going at the moment. I feel like it's less for the fans, in my opinion. Now, I mean, there's a lot of corporate things in just one aspect of football. I mean, a lot of the fan experience is aimed towards them in a sense, or the neutral fan. It's never towards the diehard fan. So obviously you get game times and kickoff times that are just absolutely stupid. Like an away day down in Plymouth, for example, like midweek. Like how does that convene anyone? Like, it doesn't at all. I mean, it's just stupid. I think things like that, especially. But then again, you can look at styles of play from certain teams. I think us especially. I think for the neutral, to condemn my own comment there. It's a bit like it's boring to watch for the neutral. It really is. I mean, even as an Albion fan or an opposition fan to watch, it's just like there's no excitement in that at all. And like you said as well, there's no a lack of goal fests. I mean, we've scored a few goals this season. I mean, not terribly a lot in one game. I mean, we've scored, I think, maximum 3 in one game, which again is a good a lot of goals, but it doesn't come often. Like there's not enough often to speak about in that sense of goals. Like as a fan, you want to see goals. I mean, you want to see it and you want to see it often, but I feel like we just don't have that killer instinct anymore. I feel like it's been coached out of us in a sense, which obviously it's Carlos's fault in that sense. He wants us to be stable and he wants us to be defensively solid, but there's no excitement anymore. You feel like the players don't have the risk element anymore, which is a bit disappointing, really, because that's what makes a game. That's what makes football, taking a risk and going for it, especially when it's a close game and it's 0-0 or you're losing 1-0. You want to see a bit of something, a bit of trickery, a bit of running at the defence, shooting from range. You don't see that often. It's just football's going down the pan. It really is. It's just boring to watch nowadays. I can't even watch it on telly. It's just not the same as it used to be like 10, 15 years ago.
Good. Well said, Ben.
Yeah, I think from our point of view, I think we're not a very exciting team to watch generally. We are very well drilled, well coached defensively. We are sort of building from the back, and everything's very precise and very well structured. You know, we're not going to win 3-0, 4-0, 5-0. That's just not our style. In terms of the league in general, I think a lot of teams are probably questioning their sort of motivation. Like, do teams really want to go up? We've seen what happened to Southampton last night, losing 5-0 at home. You know, losing the season before. You know, the gap between the Championship and the Premier League is so vast that teams are probably asking themselves, do we really want to go up and lose 3-4-5-0 every week and then come back down and do it all over again? Because of the gap that's widening. You know, if we were to go up, you know, you sort of dread it. The last time we went up, we were losing. You know, I think we lost 5-0 at home to Leeds. One of the games when we went up last time, we lost. Villa hammered us. We were getting hammered every week, and you just think it's not an enjoyable experience. So I think a lot of teams are thinking, did we really want to go up?
Let's beat the Wolves though.
Yeah, well, no surprise there, was
there. These are all great points. Dan, anything further to add to the debate?
I think it's all to do with the kick-off times now. I mean, for the next 4 games now, we're playing on a Sunday. No one likes playing on a Sunday. Just give us the 3 o'clock games. But then you get Sky Sports with this new subscription thing where you can get like Sky Sports Plus, and then you play at 12:30 on a Saturday morning. No one wants to do that. No one wants to get up a lot earlier to go to a away game just for your team to kick off at 12:30. I just think that's just ruining the whole fan experience, like Aaron was saying. Yeah, it does seem flat because people don't want to go out and sit in a freezing cold stadium at this time of year when it's on telly.
Yeah, I think it's. Did you go to Oxford? It was on telly a couple of weeks ago, and you're thinking who's watching Oxford versus West Brom when on the other side you've got Arsenal versus whoever it was. It's it is madness. Thank you very much. A really intelligent debate. Thank you all of you for that. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Is football on its Is football in the trough at the moment, and what can we do to resurrect it? Cheers, fellas. Enjoy the game this weekend against Bristol City. We'll be watching you. Well, I'll be watching you only so I can talk to you guys about it the following week. One ball before Christmas. Will Carlos be in the dugout? We shall see.